Who would have thought that so many people lost their job in the last rounds of tech layoffs, like past 2-3 years we've been having this laying off from all big and small companies, right? Who would have thought that hiring will become hard? I mean, think about it. There are people who used to be software developers. They're getting paid for being a software developer, right? I mean, they still are, but they probably don't have jobs, and there are a lot of them. So it should be easier for companies to hire those people. But what happened is somehow it is harder for companies now to hire them than, like, let's say like 2 or 3 years ago. So what happened? So I was reading this article by Gregory Orosz. So in this article, like, he's talking about the current job market, and also like how's the hiring process going after the previous laid off by big tech companies. So the first thing companies are noticing that the CVs, the resumes, because of the AI, people, they just dumping resumes. Now we have platforms where you can upload your resume, and you can, in one single click, I think you can just apply for like 100 jobs. So people, they're not reading job descriptions. Maybe they're requiring like a Java developer, and some like JavaScript people are applying for those positions, stuff like that. So this is happening a lot. The first hurdle is literally getting human CVs in front of you, because most of the CVs are written by AIs, and it has a lot of jargon, hallucination, like as AI mostly do nowadays, right? So they create a lot of stuff. I'm not saying like you can't use AI to make your resumes, but yeah, but like use it like wisely. Like, don't just let AI write everything for you, because once you go to the resume, they'll ask you a question about haven't done anything related to those technologies, then you won't be able to answer those questions, right? And the next is coding problems just don't work anymore. This is quite interesting, because AI is doing a lot of coding problem nowadays. I talk about some lead code. You can cheat on lead codes nowadays with some application, right? I talked about that in my previous video. You have people who got good at memorizing, and then the horde of those who are very clearly trying to use AI during the interviews. Yeah, I mean, people will use AI, and it's not, I don't think it's just developers' mistake. I mean, why would you give, like, let's say you give a coding problem, like a 3 hours long coding problem to a candidate? I mean, this is stupid. You should not do that. Let's say you want to hire someone, right? You should call the candidate first and ask about the position. Like, why do you find it interesting? What have you done before? Like it just takes like 5 or 10 minutes of your HR to call and figure out like if they're interested or not, right? Let's say they are. Then in the second round, you can hop on a call or hop on a video call, and there are so many ways you can ask questions to figure out like if they know about a specific technology or not. And yes, people will cheat. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out if someone is cheating. I mean, there are ways you can find out, like if someone is cheating, like they're using some kind of setup where like they're reading from a prompter or anything, right? So there are ways where you can find. I mean, I think companies are being a little lazy nowadays. I feel like they just give them like, could do this test, and why would a candidate not cheat? That's the thing, right? If someone needs a job, and if they can get 10 by 10 or 100 by 100 by cheating, they will do it, right? So companies should think more about like the hiring process nowadays more better than just giving them tests and expecting them to like not cheat. Next thing is like take-home exams. Take-home exams, again, I'm not a big fan of take-home exams, because I did those when I started my career. And to be honest, back then I was like, okay, I'll do it because I didn't have any job, right? Those were my like first jobs, and I was like, okay, I'll do, like I spent 8, 12, 16 hours to complete those take-home exercises. And funny part, most of the time nobody will see your code. That's the thing. Like, I submitted my code, and in an interview they didn't ask anything. I was like, I spent like 16 hours. I got the job. That was a good part, but I mean, why did you ask me to waste my time, right? So again, nowadays with AI, I mean, these two things, they are gone. So what's the solution now? So the current solution nowadays companies are trying to do is like the in-person interviews, right? They are back, and sooner or later, I mean, we knew that this is going to happen, because now companies, like, they're not hiring fully remote people. It's like hybrid or like 5 days a week, right? So if you're already asking someone to come 2 days a week or 3 days or 5 days, why don't you ask them to come for an interview, right? I mean, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of that as well, but if you can do that, I'm fine. Like if some company wants to, like in the same city, I can certainly go and do my interview. And I kind of like those because see, you can meet people, you can interact with them, they can see your facial expression, and there is a lot of subconscious communication or unconscious communication you can do while sitting with them on a screen. Like if it's not a remote position, right? So I mean, you certainly can go to office, but if it's a remote position, there's just no way like you can invite someone, or you can like maybe just for hiring you can invite them, pay for their expense. You can certainly do those things. And again, like the thing is, like people using AI in the job, which is like, I think companies are expecting candidates to use AI. So if they have a roadblock and they're not able to solve it, 1 or 2 occasions in my career where I was like completely stuck. And this happens with everyone. So what do? You just try to find the solution, right? This is the only thing you can do. You can try, you dig in, you ask for help, and maybe you'll find someone who has some kind of maybe extra knowledge or deep understanding of some important concept. They can nudge you in the right direction, and you got the solution, right? It was the same thing before AI. I don't know why people are pushing that on AI, that because of AI now everyone's lazy. People were lazy before AI. Yeah, it's a big article. I'm not going to read everything. Everyone was thinking that hiring will become easier, but it's not. There are lots and lots of developers in the job market, and that's putting a lot of pressure during the hiring, because see, everyone wants to hire the best candidate, right? So companies, they don't know how to shortlist those resumes because there are hundreds or thousands of resumes they're getting. How can you shortlist them? Use of AI, and AI is making terrible mistakes while filtering those resumes. So I'm not a big fan of that as well. I think what companies can do, they can, rather than asking questions during like filling those applications, sometimes they're like 20 questions. If I'm applying for like 10 or 20 job a day, I'm not going to waste like my 30 or 40 minutes on one application. Otherwise, I mean, I would spend a whole day submitting like 10 applications. I mean, this is the problem companies need to solve. They need to put more human reviewers, like humans need to review those resumes. And if they find like they can have filtration, like if someone like they're applying for like a Java position and they're doing JavaScript, right? If they're not looking for JavaScript developers, they can remove those resumes. But they need to find humans who can read those resumes and then personally call them, those shortlisted candidates, rather than depending on some tools. Because see, end of the day, you need people, right? So companies need to invest more resources to hiring, because ultimately you're hiring so that you can go fast, right? So before you going fast, you need to go slow, and hiring is a slow process. It takes time. Same for the candidate. Like if candidate is applying for like, let's say 50 jobs and getting like 5 interviews, right? So the candidate has to go for 5 different interviews. Companies need to think about that as well. So the best thing companies can do is like put more resources, maybe trying to reach out people on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, it's hard to fake on LinkedIn. I mean, people do that, but I think it's relatively harder on LinkedIn nowadays to fake yourself. The first thing they need to do is call them so that they can just figure out like if they are a good fit or not. There's no way you would go to 3rd or 4th step. There's no way you can go to like 3rd or 4th step before filtering out the candidate. So a lot of human resources need to be put here. They need to hire more people to review the resumes. And I think that's it from today's video. I just found this quite interesting, that it's getting harder and harder for companies to get good candidates. Well, that's it for today's video. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.